The rest of the team wasn't too calm either. The idea of overtaking Slytherin in the house championship was wonderful. No one had done it for 7 years. But would they be allowed to? With such a bizarre referee? Harry didn't know whether he was imagining it or not. But he seemed to keep running into Snape wherever he went. At times, he even wondered whether Snape was following him, trying to catch him on his own. Potion lessons were turning into a sort of wicked torture. Snape was so horrible to Harry. Could Snape possibly know they'd found out about the Sorcerer's Stone? Harry didn't see how he could, yet he sometimes had the horrible feeling that Snape could read minds. Harry knew. When they wished him good luck outside the locker room the next afternoon, that Ron and Hermione were wondering whether they'd be seeing him alive again. This wasn't what you'd all comforting. Harry hardly heard a word of Wood's pep talk till he pulled on the Quidditch ropes and picked up his Nimbus 2000. Ron and Hermione, meanwhile, had found a place in the stands next to Neville, who couldn't understand why they looked so grim and worried, or why they had brought their wands to the match. Little did Harry know that Ron and Hermione had been secretly practicing the leg locker curse. They'd gotten the idea from Malfoy using it on Neville, and we're ready to use it on Snape if he showed any sign wanting to hurt Harry. No, don't forget, it's Locomotor Mortis. Hermione muttered at Ron, slipped with his wand up his sleeves. I know, Ron snapped. Don't Ned. Back in the locker room, Wood had taken Harry aside. Don't want to pressure you, Potter, but if you ever need an early capture of Snape, it's now. Finish the game before Snape can flavor Hufflepuff too much. The whole school's out there, said Fred Weasley, peering out the door. Even Bleemley Dumbledore came to watch. Harry's heart did a somersault. Dumbledore, he said, dashing to the door to make sure. Fred was right. There was no mistaking that silver beard. Harry could have laughed out loud with relief. He was safe. There was simply no way that Snape would dare to try to hurt him if Dumbledore was watching. Perhaps that was why Snape was looking so angry as the other team marched onto the field, something that Ron noticed too. I've never seen Snape look so mean, he told Hermione. Oh, sorry, Weasley. Ouch. They're off. Ouch. Someone had poked Ron in the back of his head. It was Malfoy. Oh, sorry, Weasley. I didn't say that. Malfoy grinned boredly at Scraven Goal. Wonder how long Potter's though to stay on his broom this time. Anyone want a bet? What about you, Weasley? Ron didn't answer. Snape had just awarded to Bulpoof a penalty because George Weasley's bludger had hit the George Weasley had hit a bludger at him. Hermione, who had all her fingers across her lap, was squinting fixedly at Harry, who was circling the game like a hawk, looking for the snitch. "You know how I think they choose people from Gryffindor, Tim," said Malfoy loudly a few moments later, as Snape awarded Poof another penalty for no reason at all. "If people they feel sorry for. See, that's Potter, who got no parents, and there's the Weasley who've got no monies. You should be on Tim. Longbottom, you've got no brains." Neville went bright red, but turned in his seat, faced Malfoy. "I'm more to 12 of you, Malfoy," he stammered. Malfoy craving gold half with laughter, but Ron, still not daring to take his eyes from the game, said, "You tell him, Neville." "Longbottom, if brain were gold, you'd be poorer than Weasley, and that's saying something." Ron's nerves were already stretched to the breaking point with anxiety about Harry. "I'm warning you, Malfoy. One more word." "Ron!" said Hermione suddenly. "Harry!" "What? Where?" Harry had suddenly gone into spectacle drive with few gasping cheers from the crowd. Hermione stood up, her crossed fingers in her mouth, as Harry streaked toward the ground like a bullet. "You're in luck, Weasley. Potter's obviously spilled some money on the ground," said Malfoy. One snapped. Before Malfoy knew what was happening, one was on top of him, wrestling him to the ground. Neville hesitated, then clambered over the back of his seat to help. "Come on, Harry!" Hermione screamed, leaping onto her seat to watch as Harry spat straight at Snape. She didn't even notice Malfoy and Ron rolling around under her seat, or the scuffles and yelps coming from the whirl or fist that was Neville, Crave, and Goyle. Up in the air, Snape turned on his broomstick just in time to see something scarlet shoot past him, missing him by inches. The next second, Harry had pulled off the drive, his arm raised in triumph, the snitch clasped in his hand. The stand erupted. It was to be a record. No one could ever remember the snitch being cut so quickly. "Ron, Ron, where are you? The game's over. Harry won. Harry's won. We've won. Gryffindor is in the lead," shrieked Hermione, dancing up and down on her seat and hugging her Paddy Paddle in the row in front. Harry jumped off his broom, a foot from the ground. He couldn't believe it. He'd done it. The game was over. It had merely lasted 5 minutes. As Gryffindor was spilling onto the field, he saw Snape land nearby, white-faced and tight-lipped. Then Harry felt a hand on his shoulder and looked up Dumbledore's smiling face. "Well done," said Dumbledore quietly, so that only Harry could hear. "Nice to see you. Haven't been rotting about the mirror. Been keeping busy. Excellent." Snape spat bitterly on the ground. Harry left the locker room alone some time later to take his Nimbus 2000 back to the broom shed. He could never remember feeling happier. He really done something to be proud of now. No one could say he was just a famous name anymore. The grass revealing the last hour in his head, which was a happy black Gryffindor running to lift him onto their shoulders, Ron and Hermione in the distance, jumping up and down, Ron cheering through a heavy nosebleed. Harry had reached the shed. He leaned against the wooden door and looked up at Hogwarts, with its window glowing red in the setting sun. Gryffindor in the lead. He'd done it. He'd shown Snape. And speaking of Snape, the hood figure came swiftly down in the front steps at the castle. Clearly not wanting to be seen, it walked as fast as possible toward the forbidden forest. Harry's picture faded from his mind as he watched. He recognized the figure of Rolling Rock, Snape, sneaking into the forest while everyone else was at dinner. What was going on? Harry jumped back on Nimbus 2000 and took off. Glazing silence over the castle, he saw Snape under the forest at the run. Harry followed. The trees were so thick he couldn't see where Snape had gone. He flew in circles lower and lower, brushing the top branches tree until he heard voices. He glided toward them and landed noisily a towering beech tree. He climbed carefully along of the branches, holding tight to his broomstick, trying to see those the leaves. Below the shadowy clearing stood Snape, but he wasn't alone. Quirrell was there too. Harry couldn't make out the look of his face, but he was scared, turning worse than ever. Harry strayed to catch what they were saying. Don't know why you wanted to meet me here after all, please, Severus. Oh, I thought we'd keep this private, said Snape, his voice icy. Students aren't supposed to know about the Sorcerer's Stone after all. Harry leaned forward. Quirrell was mumbling something. Snape interrupted him. Have you found out how to pass the beast of Hagrid yet? But Severus, You don't want me as your enemy, Quirrell, said Snape, taking a step toward him. I don't know what you know perfectly well what I mean, an owl hooted loudly, and Harry nearly fell out of the tree. He steadied himself in time to hear Snape say, "You little bit of hocus pocus, I'm waiting." But I don't. Very well, Snape cut in. We'll have another little chat soon, when you have time to think things over and decide where your loyalties lie. He threw the cloak over his head and strode out of the clearing. It was almost dark now, but Harry saw Quirrell standing quiet, still as though he was petrified. "Harry, where had you been?" Hermione squawked. "We won! You won! We won!" shouted Ron, thumping Harry on the back. "And I keep Mubbly black eye, and Neville tried to take on Graves and go single-handed. He's still out cold, but Madame Pomfrey said he'll be all right. Talk about showing Slytherin. Everyone waiting for you in the common room. We're having a party. Fred and George stole some cake and stuff from the kitchens." "Never mind that now," said Harry breathlessly. "Let's find an empty room. You'll wait till you hear this." He made sure Peeves wasn't inside before shutting the door behind them. Then he told them what he had